So we see Sensei's Divining Top come down for Tom here, and no creature from Vile on Kris for Kris. Kris sitting at a bunch of cards in hand. I wonder what he has in his hand to be able to not be playing his threats out. So you see a Mother of Runes come down first. Maybe try to bait a counter spell he might have. But it looks like he's actually just going to pass with Mother of Runes in play.
Yeah, have you looked at mine?
Yeah, but you're not practicing.
True, though this is actually a really strong hardcore list.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, a bunch of those models don't even make attacks.
So Tom being at 6 here and Fire and Ice in play makes any play really awkward. Any creature in play turns into at least 5 damage. So Tom in a really tight spot here. Fire and Ice being one of the better equipment to have in this matchup. Just instantly giving him Pro Blue, so he can't be blocked by any of Tom's creatures besides, short of an Entreat the Angels token. And it can't be bounced by
I would probably roll a 1.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. So it makes everything kind of awkward there.
Aren't you missing something?
So we see another Mother of Runes and then a Equip from the Fire and Ice, making that a pretty scary Mother of Runes. It's not as scary as a Mother of Runes equipped to a Batter Skull, which I have seen before.
Full unit of blood trackers, full unit of blood pack, 2 sets of stones, one with UA and a competitor.
I'm kind of happy to be having finishes because then I got.
We see another Jace come down from Tom. Probably going to see a Brainstorm here. Bounce definitely not being able to do it. But we see a Fetch first, bringing Tom to 5.
Okay, so you're playing?
Or
Okay. Normal. They're normal, they're normal, they're normal.
Those guys need letters.
somehow I missed a damage. He's actually at 4. So he does need to find an answer for this Mother of Runes. Don't know if he's going to find it. He either needs a Terminus or a Swords to Plowshares.
Okay, you got everything?
You got your zone measured out, or you get mine measured out real quick.
So an interesting play that could have happened is Kris King could have wasted the Tundra that Tom had open first.
Okay. That.
But it doesn't seem like it matters. We're going to go to game 2 with Kris up a game. So in that situation, if Kris King had actually wastelanded the Tundra first, it would have forced Tom to have the answer before combat, and that would allow Kris to kind of plan out his next couple, or that turn a little bit better. But still ended up getting it, Tom not being able to find his answer off the top. Counterbalance definitely not doing anything in that particular situation. Nor is it a very good card in this matchup. Any of the matchups where they have Ether Vial and are able to just put in creatures, Counterbalance becomes infinitely worse. So kind of an interesting matchup. You probably didn't see it from game 1, but they're Fire and Ice really the key card in that matchup, as well as any of the other equipment. Just having any one of your creatures become a better creature. Yeah, right. When your Mother of Runes is now a 5/5 lifelinker that can tap her to give her self-protection, it's a lot more scary than just a 1/1.
Absolutely.
And Fire and Ice definitely brought it home there. Jace not being able to bounce his creatures, and then also dealing an extra 4 damage every time it swing and draw a card. All things you want to be doing in the matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We have our first 2 rounds centered around equipment.
Yeah.
In a sense, and we're playing Legacy, which is a bunch of older cards that are available, but still we're seeing some new age equipment. It's kind of funny how some of those equipment are still they're really good, and like you said, with that protection, it just really can change the game and make a card like Mother of Runes, which is considered a very defensive card, one of the best defensive cards ever for creatures.
Yeah.
Make it a big threat for the player.
And Tom did play a lot of his better spells in the matchup. He did have several Swords to Plowshares. He saw Terminus. He saw Jace isn't too good, but he did see Jace, and it just didn't seem like any of them matched up to the equipment.
Right. Well, when you're drawing cards off your equipment, if it hits, or just that you're getting the protection, and can sometimes be enough. It's a nullifying, removal spells, because you're not going to be able to withstand that, because that the effect from the threat is too much for the defensive answer.
So, what do you expect to see from sideboards from either side?
I think you're going to see, of course, the main cards that you usually see. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see like Meddling Mage. Which cards were you thinking?
I'm thinking so from Tom's side, the blue, white, red Miracles list. I think some amount of wear and tears might come in to kind of deal with those equipment in the Ether Vial. Ether Vial is like one of those cards that any control deck really has trouble with when they're, instead of casting their creatures on their main phase, they're casting creatures at instant speed, and just adds for a lot of trickiness for removal spells, and a lot of their like Terminus and Spree-Verdict sorceries, and even though you can cast one as a miracle, it's a lot easier to just kind of do it on your draw step and play it main phase. But
I remember when Aether Vial came out and it was played in Standard, it was like hailed as a really good card for all these things that it's still prevalent for and still good. It's basically playing Magic on a different level. Since, like you're saying, where it causes all these troubles for a control deck, or you're trying to just control the game a little bit, because you don't have to pay your mana for your cards, your creatures, and then you can put them out whenever you want. Like it's such a crazy, unique ability that no other card basically has.
No, definitely one of the better cards. Like one of the better cards that creatures got. It also allows for the use of cards like Wasteland and Rishon Import to a greater extent when you're not paying for your creatures, and then you have 2 main phase mana to just like tap down their lands and their upkeep. It's a lot better than casting your creatures and hoping that they stay for the next turn so you can Rishon Import. It's like a lot better when you can play them off your vial and then still have all that mana open.
Yeah, and if your opponent is playing fair and
Yes.
trying to use their lands to play cards while you're here just putting your things in for free, it's going to be like, it's pretty bogus. Because a Rashad Port essentially becomes like, just nullify your best land every turn.
Yeah, I remember too. I used to play Maverick, and whenever I played against Vial decks, it was really annoying because if they went turn 1 Vial, and then I go to my turn 1 and I play like anything, and then they go to their turn 2 and they just kind of keep open 2 mana and their Ether Vial on 1, I couldn't tap out on my next turn just in case they had a Mother of Runes. Because if I have the removal spell in hand, I'm not gonna just like sit there with the removal spell in hand and a creature. I'm gonna sit there with the removal spell just so if they play their Mother of Runes, I can actually remove it. Because otherwise, they just go to their next turn and it's already unsafe.
Exactly.
It's just like it was a whole lot of mess playing fair decks against decks that are playing Ether Vial. It kind of seems unfair to the fair decks,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go see what our players are doing here. You can put it back.
So we are already a little bit into game 2. We see Ether Vial resolved on Kris King's side, and Tom has a top in play. Looks like Kris is missing at least one of his land drops. Hopefully not missing very many more, because of Vial probably isn't enough to be able to sustain the deck. The thing about Ether Vial is once you tick it up to a certain number, you can't go back. So he won't be able to, as soon as he goes up to 3, he won't be able to play his Stoneforges or his Mother of Runes. But we do see the second land come down, so we're going to top in response, hopefully to counter the Stoneforge, because again, those equipment are really what brings this game to an end for Kris King.
Activate the Warborn Skinwalkers that are being run for multiple.
But we do see it resolve, and Kris is going to get a Fire and Ice. So again, going for the best equipment here. Just one that, as soon as it hits the field and is equipped to a creature, just becomes really unbeatable for Tom. Not unbeatable to the sense that he can't beat it, but just very hard for him to beat. So we do see a pass from Tom, but I think Kris is deciding whether or not he wants to vial in another creature here. He is going to do so. And we see a Meddling Mage come down. So probably the cool thing about Aether Vial with Phyrexian Revoker and Meddling Mage, as soon as you let the trigger or the activate ability of Aether Vial resolve, you can actually respond to the Meddling Mage or the Phyrexian Revoker. Really good in the matchup when they reveal a miracle off the top, and you can, in response, Meddling Mage the miracle spell that they revealed for the trigger, or something of the sort. Definitely a good card in this matchup. So we see damage coming in, putting Tom at 18.
Activating Pendrake. Pendrake's gonna run. Okay. Activating my light colored shifting stones. They're gonna shift.
So you see a top plate again. I really wonder why Tom actually did tap top to draw there. He might have thought another card was on top, but had been mistaken for that. So we see a Sword of Fire and Ice come down.
Okay. Activating.
So probably want to see a Swords of Plowshares on this Meddling Mage. Unless he names Swords of Plowshares, doesn't mean we want to see a Terminus. But not looking good for Tom. Missing a land drop and then not playing any spells. A lot of his deck does operate on instant speed, but I don't know if he has the answers for the creatures that Kris has on board right now.
So he is going to Warp Prowl. He is then going to Rile 2 and run. So,
So, in the future,
So Kris could equip onto the
you're going to be doing it.
Stoneforge Mystic, and then probably come in with both the guys. Receive so 3, 5 damage, and then 2 from this Sword of Fire and Ice. We're looking at 7 damage coming in Tom's way. So we see an Entreat the Angels. Definitely a good card here. Being able to make Angel. However, Kris puts in a Thalia, making him not able to cast it for more. He actually can't. He can cast it for 0. So he's gonna probably just opt to put that in his hand. We'll see a Swords of Plowshares on the Stoneforge Mystic. So Tom not in a great position here. Kris King kind of blanking 2 of his spells. 1, the Entreat the Angels, which is now in his hand, and then 2, the card he is named with Meddling Mage. But definitely Tom definitely has some outs here. We do know Tom drew a top there, which makes Terminus almost uncastable unless he sees it off the top without topping. If it is just on top of his library, he can top and then cast Miracle on his opponent's turn. But he'd also have to fetch away his land. Actually, not even true. Top cost an extra mana. So Tom definitely in a tough position. Thalia actually doing some work here, making it so he can't cast probably most of his spells. Tom in the think tank here, wondering whether or not which cards he should play. But a Fire and Ice on either one of these creatures that will survive is not going to be very good for him. He's got to opt to Brainstorm instead of playing his top. Kind of saves him a mana here, which is definitely what he needs because his resources are running pretty thin.
Actually, the
So we see a play a fetch land and pass. I think I saw a red blast in Tom's hand. Not a card I would necessarily keep in, but still okay. If it is a red blast, he can fetch twice and choose to red blast the meddling mage. So Tom's probably hoping that the Fire and Ice is going on the meddling mage here. Yo. So we're going to see an equip here. Choosing to equip on the Thalia. So Kris kind of playing around the fact that one of his other removal spells is Pyroblast. And just kind of coming in here for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Potential 8 damage. And we do see the Wasteland kept up. So if Tom does decide to fetch for his 2 of Volcanic, it leaves him 1 land. It leaves him off red for probably the rest of the game. So we're going to reveal Terminus for a trigger. Pyroblasting the Meddling Mage. Terminus trigger still on the stack. It's kind of an interesting play that's going on. Is we have a Terminus trigger on the stack. Meddling Mage is naming Terminus, so he first had a Pyroblast Meddling Mage. Trigger resolves, and then he's now going to cast Terminus, putting the Kris King's Thalia on the bottom of his library.
Yeah, it's funny. There was so much action going on. The people around the table were looking at it and so
Yeah.
to see what's going on.
So Kris King, though, is still in a good position. Any threat off of Ether Vial there would have been near lethal. He's looking at 7 damage here, and then also drawing a card because Tom is tapped out.
Yeah, it looks like it's finished up here.
Ouch.
Kris.
So that was actually game. Tom not being able to come back from the Fire and Ice, and that'll bring Kris to 3-0. What is now the only 3-0 in our tournament. Probably bring one of them in here, just kind of talk about their match. Hopefully see that pretty soon. But we'll be bringing you round 4 here pretty shortly, and then hopefully some commentary from one of the players. So stay tuned for now.